fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Head that D, tune in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
Tune in to the fish report.
Welcome, everyone, to another Fish Report Live. Thanks for joining us. I'm Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. We're your co-host. Back in our sound room, our TK and Heavy D will be joining those two guys here in just a few minutes. And Ken, another fun night on FRL. We're going to be talking a lot of high school girls and boys basketball tonight. We're even going to talk a little college basketball and some March Madness, aren't we?
Absolutely, Craig. Great time of the season, Craig. The regular season's winding down. First, we're going to talk some high school basketball, Craig. The girls' tournament had their big drawing last weekend. It's hard to believe it's that time of the year. The boys' tournament is coming up this weekend, tournament draw. And, the Shelby County League, the girls' championship has been settled, and we'll review that in a little bit here. But the boys' side of things, Craig, is far from settled, so we're going to review some of the big games coming up there. Craig, and we're really looking forward to talking to our interview tonight, and that's Eric Farrell. Eric is the first four Big Hoopla director at the University of Dayton, Craig. He was the former assistant coach to the University of Dayton Flyers head coach Archie Miller, and we're going to look forward to talking to him and see what he has to say about the upcoming NCAA basketball tournament and the First Four, which tips off everything at the University of Dayton Arena here in just a few weeks.
Yeah, glad we could get Eric on the show tonight. Looking forward to talking to him. Originally, we were supposed to talk to the chairman of the First Four of the Big Hoopla, Jeff Hoagland. Jeff had to cancel on us at the last minute, but awfully excited to talk to Eric, as you said, the executive director. So looking forward to doing that. The second half of the show. Before we get to that, though, Ken, just like we do here every week on this show, we have our weekly poll question, and tonight's poll question appropriately has to do with March Madness.
March Madness, Craig, and we're going to talk about the NCAA tournament this time. And which part of March Madness do our viewers enjoy the most? Is it Selection Sunday, the first week of games, the Final Four games, or what everybody really likes, one shining moment after the tournament's over, the prelude, not the prelude to the championship, but the finality of the championship.
And we had to put that one in there because I knew if my wife would be watching, that's what she would vote for. That's her favorite part of the tournament, one shining moment. Forget the Selection Sunday and all that. She wakes me up to watch one shining moment.
Well, that's good.
So if our viewers out there are watching us, you can vote. If you're on the Fish Report Live page, you can scroll down, help us answer that poll question, and check your results. If you're watching us on NK Telco or Game Face Ohio tonight, we will have those results for you at the end of the show. All right, Ken, well, let's get things started talking some high school basketball. We're going to start out with the girls. And as you said, things have kind of been decided here, but let's look at our last standings of the regular season.
Last standings report, Craig, for the 2017 season. Jackson Center Tigers, congratulations to Coach Reese and his team over there. We've seen them early on in the season, Craig, at Russia. It's probably their first or second game they had played coming off of that state championship in volleyball. And, it doesn't surprise me, Craig, that they're sitting at top of the league and as league champions. They looked very good that night and, played excellent basketball throughout the season. Russia and Fort Laramie, Craig, both having outstanding seasons and 8-3 in the league. And Bachman's also, Craig, enjoying a fine season at 7-5. So Shelby County League Championship has been decided, but teams are starting to prep for the postseason, and, that'll all be kicking off here on February 18th.
Yeah, and the last games of the SCAL are coming up this Thursday. Again, that ends our coverage of the SCAL regular season. But let's bring in the sound room, guys, because the one game that I saw that interested me the most there, of course, is Russia at Fort Laramie. That first game they played over here at Russia. Of course, the Raiders won that one. Looking forward to a very good game there. And I want to ask about that game, Ken. You just mentioned both teams are at 8-3 right now. Again, Jackson Center's already won the league. Does this game mean anything?
To me, Craig, no. There's no runner-up trophy. Nobody cares who got runner-up in the Shelby County League in 2017. And the reason I say this, Craig, is because these two teams are going to meet at Sidney High School in the sectional finals. It's going to be a lot of vanilla from Coach Siegel and a whole bunch of vanilla from Coach Timmerman. Neither team's going to show a whole lot. Neither team wants to they want to keep all their surprises in the bag, Craig. This game Thursday night, I hate to downplay a regular season game, but in my point of view, very little meaning to this game Thursday night.
Well, let me ask you, TK. Okay. Ken's saying they're not going to show anything to each other. Your thoughts on that? Do they, it's still a rivalry game. Do you think neither team cares about winning this game?
I think it's the biggest game of the week. It's the biggest game of the season. In a lot of ways that they got to get ready for this tournament, and the person or the team that wins it going into the tournament has a lot going for them. It's a great way to end the season. Yeah, Ken's right. No trophies. Nobody cares who's second except for the team that gets second and the team that wins the rivalry. I think it's important. Will they pull out all the stops? I think Ken's got a good point there. The bigger game is when they meet, or potentially when they meet in the tournament, but there's a lot of pride going into this game, and I think there's going to be some hard-fought basketball out there Thursday night.
All right, Heavy D. Well, our chance to see some very good players on both sides, and certainly Laramie's had a tradition of some great players there over the years, and let's talk about 1,000-point scorers. They've had several here in recent years with Jessica Berger and Darian Rose, and Russia actually had one a couple years ago with Kylie Wilson, and actually put another one on that 1,000-point board this past weekend, didn't they?
Yeah, Maria Herron got her 1,000th point against Fairlawn this past weekend. I've been watching Maria since probably she's been in junior high, just real steady, not flashy. She's not tall, not super quick. She's just a good, steady ball player. She's got a head for the game. She knows where to be. She's got a quick shot, quick release from the three-point land, and it couldn't happen to a better girl. Kind, team player, leader of that team. You just can't say enough good things about Maria Herron.
Yeah, she's been fun to watch, and hopefully fun to watch here for a little while longer as they head into the tournament here next week. And yeah, I agree. Couldn't happen to a better player.
Absolutely agree with that as well. It was interesting when she made her 1,000th point. It was a three-pointer, nonetheless, of an area where she has scored a lot of points from, and she didn't even know it. So the coach Timmerman immediately called timeout, and he's done a great job with this team all year, and called her over to the bench and said that was your 1,000th point. They made the announcement, and she was a surprise to anybody.
Good stuff there. All right, guys, let's talk a little boys basketball. And the week behind the girls there, they're getting actually had their tournament draw this past weekend. We'll talk about, or coming up, we'll talk about that probably next week, I imagine. But let's take a look at those regular season standings and see where we're at right now, Ken.
Well, Craig, some big games coming up this week, and it's got the some of the top teams in the league squaring off against each other. And Rushie's sitting atop the league standings right now at 8-1. And Craig, they're kind of in the driver's seat there. They got Fairlawn coming to Claire C. Nouveau Gymnasium on Friday night. The Raiders can clinch a tie for the league championship with a win. You got Fort Laramie right there, also tied with Fairlawn, just a game back. They've got a tough game also as they take on Jackson Center Friday night. So, there's a lot still to be played out here in the Shelby County League. Russia with a one-game lead over Fairlawn and Fort Laramie, but, there's some big games coming up for all those teams.
Yeah, I want to bring the sound room guys back again. Let's talk about some of those games coming up. Seems like a wild Friday night, guys, coming up here. And TK, I'll mention that Botkins at Anna game first with tournament draw coming this weekend. This game doesn't seem to have a whole lot of impact on the league race or maybe the tournament draw. But we saw the Trojans last Friday. We actually saw Anna coach Nate Barhorst in the house scouting that game. Is Botkins capable of what we would call an upset here?
Well, I guess you could say any night any team can win, but Botkins continues to really struggle. They're not really getting much out of anybody. Huker, Opperman, Butcher aren't really being able to help as much as they probably hoped with Bergman in there. He's a heck of a player, but not quite enough. I think Anna's going to be on their game. Again, everybody's trying to get ready for tournament, and it's probably going to be Anna taking that one. I don't think Botkins can quite pull it together. They're continuing to struggle quite a bit as a team.
All right, in Heavy D, we got Fairlawn coming to Russia. This was a nail-biter a month ago that seemed a little closer than the final score of 61-54. Of course, the Raiders won that one. The Jets could create a real logjam in the county standings with a win, couldn't they?
They sure could. They could really stack a couple of teams right there coming down to the last game of the year. The Raiders went into the hangar about a month ago and took one from Fairlawn. I think Hickman got into foul trouble in that game, I remember, so he sat out a little bit. But he's kind of the X factor for him. He starts lighting it up for 3 points, and you let him alone, he will hurt you. Lessing's going to get his 20-25 points,
and they just got to keep everybody else in check.
Yeah, Nathan Lessing, of course, surpassed 2,000 points this past weekend. Pretty unbelievable.
That's a
there.
lot of points.
He's gonna be leading that team and giving the Raiders their best shot on this weekend.
Yes, he will.
All right, Ken, and one last game, Fort Laramie at Jackson Center. Another big game. Maybe not so much for Jackson Center, kind of out of the league race, but Fort Laramie would like to get a win to set up that big showdown the following Friday night with Russia, wouldn't they?
Yes, they would, Craig. And, I think Fort Laramie is playing pretty well right now. Jackson Center actually, they've been up and down all year. And I think Coach Elkert's still looking for that magic formula there with his Tigers. But, Fort Laramie last week, Craig, looked like they may have had a couple injuries that might kind of derail the Redskins, but they never skipped a beat last weekend, and the fine point guard over there, Evan Burning, he came back and played 2 real nice ball games for the Redskins last week, Craig. I think the Redskins don't look past the Tigers here one bit. I think they'll go into Jackson Center and get out of there with a win and set up a big showdown the following Friday night when Russia comes to Fort Laramie.
Yeah, they certainly seem to have more depth than what Jackson Center does. Tyler Siegel playing extremely well right now. They got the senior Cody Gasson and Dylan Braun, who seems to lead them in scoring most games. Him and Siegel seem to split that.
So, I think they just got too much power for Jackson Center, who is very, obviously Brady's a great player, Brady Wildermuth, but I just don't think they have the depth to contain all the weapons from Fort Laramie.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our high school talk. We're going to take a short break, but stay right there. When we come back, we're going to talk a little March Madness with the executive director of Dayton Hoopla, Eric Farrell.
Stage at the Leaping Band. Music starts at 8 o'clock. You can find us here every Wednesday night. It's usually the same cats every week, but I can't tell you all their names. Teacher, cat, and a junkie, all waiting for time to play. Everybody here's got something that we're trying to leave behind. We're all a little broken, for a place to hide. Get no answers, don't ask any questions. We're all here just looking for a high. And we're all beautifully broken here tonight.
Welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live. Ken, we spend most of our time on this show talking high school basketball, so we're excited tonight to take a little break from that and talk a little college basketball. And it's March Madness coming up, of course, the First Four. Dayton's been hosting that for, I think, the 17th straight year, so excited about that. And Ken, our next guest actually works for the University of Dayton and is the executive director for the Big Hoopla, which organizes all activities for the Dayton region in and around the NCAA First Four Division I men's basketball tournament. We welcome to the show now Mr. Eric Farrell. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on tonight. Really awesome to be on with you guys and kind of keep spreading the hoopla message in the First Four all the way up to you guys. So excited to be on tonight.
Well, listen, Eric, I think when most people around here think of the NCAA First Four, they think that it's just UD Arena hosting some games on March 14th and 15th coming up here. But you actually get the party started in the Dayton region with something called the Big Hoopla. And we want to get into the activities surrounding the Big Hoopla here. But first, describe what's been the economic impact of the Big Hoopla on the Dayton region.
Yeah, so I mean, if you look at historically, when the NCAA kind of shifted gears from those play-in games, in 2001, University of Dayton was fortunate enough that we were hosting the first and second round of the NCAA tournament, and they kind of had the play-in game where they just had kind of two teams based on conference realignments. They didn't expand the field at that time, and we were fortunate enough to get those play-in games back in 2001. And then, it was kind of a proof of concept that we were able to put a capacity crowd for those playing games back in 2001, and they just kept giving us those playing games. And then, you fast forward to 2011 where the tournament field expanded into 68 teams, and then that kind of made for those, those last four at-large teams plus those four automatic qualifiers. And that kind of created a really unique opportunity here in the Dayton region to host the First Four, as it then kind of was branded. And, since 2001, if you look back all the way to then, is an economic, direct economic impact here in the Dayton region is in excess of $70 million. And annually, the First Four brings in excess of, $4.5 million to direct economic impact, because fans, players, teams, etc., are coming to the Dayton region. They're staying in our hotels. They're going to the restaurants. They're participating in the bars. They're buying, they're going to the mall and buying product here in the region. And so when you talk about direct dollars, it's a huge, huge opportunity for Dayton, Ohio, to be on the lone spotlight for those weeks. And then, the other side of that is the kind of the immeasurable economic impact. And what we mean by that is, it's billions of impressions globally that the University of Dayton, the Dayton region, is kind of getting. Because, when you talk about March Madness and the NCAA tournament week, that first week of tournament basketball, there's not a lot else going on. It's March Madness is the talk of the national media. For 2 days, Dayton, Ohio is what's talked about. It's who's coming to Dayton, the games in Dayton. And so when you start talking about the indirect economic impact, I mean, billions of impressions globally that really just continue to highlight all those unique attributes that makes the Dayton region so special that we know here, but that then begins to branch out nationally and globally. So it's kind of a twofold economic impact, one direct dollars, and the other kind of those indirect dollars that's kind of immeasurable, but you can kind of qualify based on what that tournament week brings to the region.
All right, well, let's talk about some of the activities surrounding the Big Hoopla, and one of those activities is called the Hoopla Ticket Program. What's that all about?
Yeah, that's kind of our that's our flagship, to be honest with you, in terms of what we do with the Hoopla. And the Hoopla Ticket Program is kind of our local organizing committee's highly successful charitable community outreach program, where we're able to purchase tickets for the First Four games and then donate them over to local students and the Right Pat Airmen. And all this is possible because of our great sponsors that we have. Those sponsors commit their dollars, commit time, energy, resources, and that goes all the way from the Montgomery County to DP&L to Greater Dayton Area Hospital Association, Premier Health, Kettering Health, and the list really just goes on and on. And we're really fortunate that, the region as a whole and key players in the region have really saw this as an opportunity to give back. Specifically, military tickets are donated to the active duty servicemen and their families. And, it's an opportunity for us as a region, us as a community of sponsors, to kind of put those airmen in an unmatched visibility, recognition, and really appreciation for the Air Force and Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. We have a great platform with the base here in town because they are the state's largest single-site employer. And it's just kind of our committee, all of our benefactors' way to kind of just say thank you to the military heroes that serve our community, that live and contribute daily in our community. And then the other side of that is the ticket program goes back to students in the Dayton region. We'll probably touch on it with the STEM, but the tickets also go to students in the region that really show a passion and dedication to the STEM disciplines. And you know what? Most of the time we're finding that these tickets are going towards underprivileged kids in the Dayton region who, in many cases, it's the first college basketball game they'll be able to see. And so when you talk about the Hoopla ticket program as a whole, you're talking about, this year we'll surpass 30,000 tickets donated to airmen at Wright Pat and students in the area. And that's all thanks to, the committee's effort and then all of our sponsors that make those type of things possible.
Eric, hi. This is Ken Francis. Another thing that goes on during the activities during the big Hoopla are the Hoopla 4-miler and also the Hoopla STEM Challenge. Could you elaborate a little bit on these two activities and what other fun it brings to the kids of the Dayton area?
Absolutely. So on that selection Sunday, as the country is kind of anticipating the evening reveal of the brackets, we're getting things kicked off bright and early. So this year it's March 12th, Sunday, March 12th. We get things kicked off bright and early with our Hoopla 4-miler. And what that is it's not a run, it's not a race by any stretch of the imagination, but it is. We have runners, we have walkers, we have moms and dads that bring their kids in strollers. So it's just a really fun event that really brings the community, kind of gets the energy, the excitement really revved up first thing Sunday morning. And it's a fun 4-mile course. It starts at UD's River campus, and it goes down past the river through Welcome Stadium, past UD Arena, and so you really get to see some of the really cool highlights of the NCAA tournament with UD Arena, and then it also really provides a great view of downtown Dayton from the race course. And so that's really the way we get things started. The cool thing about this year is all of our finishers will receive a finisher medal. I know a lot of race enthusiasts, me not being a racer per se, but we're rolling out finisher medals. That is a really, really cool kind of incentive for all those participants. And then we roll right into the STEM Challenge, and that's down at Chaminade Julian, and that's a free basketball event that really ties the region's affinity and the passion for STEM education with the excitement of March Madness in a cool way for students K-8, boys and girls K-8, to come down to Chaminade Julian and participate in a full-day event, part hot shot challenge where, there's different spots on the court that the kids shoot from. They get points associated with each spot they make, and those are redeemable for prizes from Hoopla T-shirts and swag to iTunes gift cards, Scene 75 gift cards, First Four tickets, and then the grand prize would be iPads. We give all the STEM finalists iPads, and then they are able to compete at center court at halftime of one of the First Four games that following week. And then the other side of that day is a really, really cool part because we bring in STEM partners from, Wright Patterson Educational Outreach will bring in a whole demonstration of new technology that they're using, to Proto Build Bar will teach kids different soldering points, to Scene 75 rolling out some virtual reality, to Premier Health, DP&L teaching kids about electricity. And we've just got about 20 partners that are going to come in there and teach these kids about STEM education, and that really kind of ties everything together about what makes this region great. If you think about like what we talked about with the base, Wright Patterson Air Force Base, state's largest single-site employer being right here in our backyard, and you're talking about AFRL being if you measured their dollars, they're a Fortune 5 company in terms of dollars spent, and have that affinity with STEM Challenge or STEM education here in our backyard, to then tie the excitement of March Madness that everybody can really rally behind. We really mash it up in a cool way that really is able to, almost recruit new STEM minds and STEM participants, because a lot of kids love basketball. There's a lot of kids that love STEM education, but we mash it up and we bring everybody together for a really fun afternoon. And again, that's on Sunday, March 12th down at Chaminade Julian. And again, it's a free event, students K-8.
Eric, let's talk a little bit about tickets to the games, okay? The First Four, there's always some, some good, the last four in, and technically those are teams usually from the big power conferences. And, for us listeners up here in the northern part of the Dayton area, how do we go about tickets? Are tickets still available? What's it entail if I want to go to some of the games?
Yes, that's a great point. I'm glad you guys brought that up, because we have a unique opportunity here, a little backstory is we're currently in a bid process to secure the First Four for 2019 to 2022. And the NCAA went out to bid, and we, with the university and the Dayton and all of our partners, submitted a highly competitive bid to keep the First Four here in Dayton for the next 4 years. And along with that is, we have a unique opportunity that none of those other sites that bid for the First Four have. And we have the next 6 weeks to sell that place out and kind of put one more feather in our cap to say to the NCAA and our partners that the First Four is a Dayton thing. It's it's one of the things that makes us great. It's one of those things where it's a rallying cry where the whole region really supports. And so, when you talk about tickets, it's as important as ever before that all of our community sponsors, from season ticket holders to just basketball fans as a whole, it's important that we sell this thing out and kind of give ourselves kind of one last push to say, this is ours. And so there's a couple ways to go about buying tickets. I think the easiest one would be to go onto our website, DaytonHoopla.com/tickets, and you can see the wide array of tickets that are available between low arena tickets, 300 level tickets, and then, the 400 level tickets. But when you go on there, you'll see these different price points. And when you look at an all-session ticket, you're essentially getting 2 games on Tuesday, 2 games on Wednesday. You're getting 4 highly competitive NCAA tournament games for a really good price. And so when you go on there, it's those prices, but you're getting 4 games for that price. And I don't know if there's a better deal in town. And like you guys said, those games are always compelling. If you go to one of those games and you see those 2 16 seeds, like Florida Gulf Coast versus Farley Dickinson, all of a sudden, the arena starts getting revved up, and all of a sudden you're starting to pick sides, and then you have a divided arena. But it's really cool because everybody finds somebody to root for. And then those nightcap games are usually we're rolling in really highly competitive BCS level schools that really have a good fan base, where there's a lot of talent on the court as well. And you're going to get 4 really, really good games 2 straight nights. So, I would direct everybody to DaytonHoopla.com/tickets. And then also just, that one other caveat is it's important as ever that we secure the First Four for another 4 years and make a huge push these last 4 weeks as we lead into the First Four to kind of, as a region, say this is ours and nobody's going to take it from us, because we're going to sell that place out, and we're going to sell it out for 2 consecutive nights, and we're going to provide the best unmatched visibility for this Dayton region.
Eric, I'm a big fan of Joe Lenardi. I read his bracketology all the time, and I look at some of these teams that are on the bubble, and when I recognize the bubble teams, the first thing I think of is the big hoopla at the University of Dayton Arena, because these are the teams that I got a chance to go watch. But not only can I watch them play, correct me if I'm wrong, I can also go in and watch him practice and watch Jim Boeheim and his Syracuse Orangemen on the practice floor. Is that correct?
That is correct. So that's one of the other kind of pushes we're making this year more than ever before, is those open practices are free to the public. It's a great opportunity, like you're saying, to see really high-quality coaches, perhaps a Jim Boeheim, maybe a Tom Crean, a Thad Matta, Tom Izzo, if we're so fortunate to get those quality of coaches. But regardless, it's a unique opportunity for fans of college basketball to come in and watch a college basketball practice on a small scale. Fans get kind of that outsider perspective when they watch the game, and then every now and then they'll give you a couple bits on, what the coaches were talking about pregame and their media debrief. But these are opportunities to see the coaches really coach the guys up, see assistant coaches going over game plans and strategies. And you know what? In some cases, it's an opportunity to see some, players that you have followed all year long that now have an opportunity to come here, and you get to see them live and in a practice setting, which is really intimate. Practices are something that, a select few get to see, and we have a really unique opportunity on that Monday evening, 5 o'clock to 8 o'clock will be the first set of open practices, and then Tuesday from noon to 3 o'clock will be the second round of practices. And like you said, we don't know who's coming, but what we can guarantee is if you're in the NCAA tournament, if you're fortunate enough to be one of those 68 teams selected, you're doing something right. The coaching is really good, the players are really good, and it'll give everybody kind of that insider look as to what a college practice is really all about and the preparation involved. And, we're doing some things here locally as a committee, working with the University of Dayton to see, how can we continue to drive excitement for these open practices. So, I'd point people towards all of our social media, University of Dayton social media, to kind of follow as the next couple weeks unfold, where we're able to kind of roll out more definitive plans on some activations and kind of making those First Four practices really special for those student athletes, coaches, and fans that are going to come in from, who knows, Clemson, Mount St. Mary's, UC Davis. I don't know who's coming. That's probably why we're all getting excited for March Madness now, is because as kind of we march forward, new teams are going to emerge. Some teams are going to fall off, and that's what makes college basketball season so great. That's what makes the NCAA tournament great, and that's why we love it here as a Dayton region.
Eric, we're really out of time, but I got one more question I wanted to ask you, so we're going to have a quick answer here. But you talked about the other benefits that the university and the city of Dayton gets from having the First Four. One of the biggest things I know, being a big Flyer fan, is the Dayton Flyers actually ended up with Charles Cook because of the First Four. Right. Is that correct?
So Charles did. They played at they were in the First Four when he was at James Madison, and so it kind of gave him, as they were recruiting him, I bet the pitch was, hey, play in front of 13,000 fans. We can't show you what 13,000 fans look like, but he's able to kind of relive, like, hey, when I played in the First Four, if that's the kind of excitement they get for James Madison, I can only imagine what they get for a Flyers home game. So I'm sure it definitely played a large part. So we'll see kind of the talent as they roll in, and, maybe in a couple of years one of those will be in a Flyer uniform, or, if we're lucky enough, a kid like Kyle Arns with Michigan State from up your guys' way could be here too, and will only drive the excitement more.
All right. Well, listen, Eric, that was great stuff. It was sure good talking to you. Thanks for joining us tonight on the show, and perhaps we can talk again before the tournament actually tips off.
Hey, we'd love to. Keep doing the great work up there, guys. I appreciate the time tonight.
Thank you.
All right, that was Eric Farrell, the executive director of the Big Hoopla. And Ken, I know you are actually a season ticket holder down there at UD Arena. You know what the atmosphere is like. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of fun down there, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Craig. I actually had a few more questions I wanted to ask him, but we ran out of time there. Specifically, what Dayton's chances were of maybe getting back into the First Four like we were a few years ago, and had to take on Boise State and pretty much upset that whole state over there, I think. I don't think they were too happy about that, but that's the way the ball bounces, and the Flyers got a win out of that one too.
Well, like I said, maybe we can get them on the show one more time before the tournament tips off, and we'll have a little bit better idea of maybe who could be coming to the arena.
Sounds good.
All right, well, listen, let's wrap things up by going back to the sound room and checking in with tonight's poll question. Ken, why don't you read it to our viewers again?
Craig, speaking of NCAA March Madness, which is your favorite part of is it the Selection Sunday? Is it the first week of games? Is it the Final Four games? Or is it one shining moment? TK and Heavy D, what's the telemetrics have to say back here?
All right, well, we did get one vote for one shining moment.
My wife is probably my wife. I'm guessing if my wife's watching, she was your one vote.
But the overwhelming favorite is the first week of games, which is my favorite as well. I mean, there's nothing quite like 24-hour football or basketball for 2 days, and then just to breathe a little bit, and then you go right back into it Saturday and Sunday, and that's great 4 days right there.
It certainly is. I'm excited for it just talking about it tonight.
Absolutely.
All right, great stuff, guys, and that's going to wrap it up for our show. Do want to say special thanks to Eric Farrell for joining us tonight. Also, thanks to the viewers out there for tuning in. Ken and I and the crew will all be back again next week. Same time, same place. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and good night, everyone.
Hanging at the fish report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report, hanging at the fish report.